So it now appears that November may very well be the month that something pops off between Colombia, Venezuela, the United States of America. Hmm. Well, yesterday I told you about the information that I gathered from sources in Washington, D.C., where meetings are ongoing today still, because these are things that doesn't happen overnight. They take a period of time to flesh out how they're going to approach, how they're going to do it, which spaces they want to close and stuff like that. November seemed to be the month that they popping off of an affront between the Venezuelan government, the Colombian government, and the US could take place. And the reason why is that is because the FAA has made a recent filing where they're talking about realignment of communication satellites in this hemisphere for the 15th to the 26th of November. And these satellites are basically for communication, commercial airspace communication, where planes talk to one another. And that filing is a very strange thing, connecting with that meeting in Washington, D.C., where they're going to advise Caribbean governments in the coming weeks that several places around the Caribbean airspace will be shut. Now, the FAA does this a couple of years apart, but no airspace is shut for this. This is not something you have to close the airspace for, because there's always redundancy plans for planes communicating with each other. They don't shut any airspace for that. But the meetings in Washington right now is coinciding basically when they said in the weeks to come, and then you hear the timing that the FAA. So something could be used as a false flag to do what they have to do. But historically, if you look at it, November is a time when there's routine operations, that the US conducts routine operations. There was one in 1963. Every few years they do this. When JFK went to Dallas, they had a Caribbean strategy meeting before that, and they had a issue with the Caribbean airspace when they had closed certain airspace across the Caribbean. Then you had the reshuffling when they had a lull in air traffic in the Caribbean, and that was after 9/11 as well. I don't know how many of you remember that. November. So it appears that this is their month to do stuff, and they use it as a proxy, or maybe it's a false flag they're trying to create, but something is looking to pop off this November, right? If you look at the Caribbean itself, the airspace where it's set out, it's a triangle of air and sea route, really. It connects Florida. So there's the Panama Canal, Florida Panama Canal, the Atlantic transshipment routes, or corridors as well. They're all in the same triangle. And they've been using this since the 1940s for radar collaboration and anti-submarine acoustic mappings. So there is something going on. It's just that we haven't put our hands totally on it. And when we have the complete picture, we'll give it to you. But it's just to let you know that something is possible to pop off in November, because the date for the FAA filings are very interesting when they want to do this collaboration of satellites. But they've never closed the airspace for this. But now we're hearing from our source in Washington that the meeting that is being held, the meetings that are being held with the Pentagon, the security forces, the security intelligence in the US, what they're saying is that in the coming weeks, they will be advising Caribbean governments. Because the thing is, there's no need for the US government to advise Caribbean governments on something that the FAA wants to do. That's separate. That's a complete different thing. And based on the knowledge I have and the information I gathered from persons who are well aware of what the FAA does with the realignments of satellite for communication, they don't close the airspace for that. That has never been done based on what the person is telling me. And this is somebody who works within the intelligence circles. They know all about these kind of things. So it's not some dumb clown I'm talking to. It's somebody with years of experience who'll be working in this field. And close them. They don't close them. They just work around them. They have redundancy plans to do that. So this is a very interesting time we're living. I just want you to keep your head on, keep your eyes and your ears open. Remember, I always say, those who have ears to hear will hear, and those who have eyes to see will see. So keep your eyes and ears open, and let me know if you're hearing anything in your neck of the woods, and we'll talk again. All right, guys?